Well, good morning. I didn't see you down there. Do you want to go to Charleston? Because, I'm super excited to go. And that's what this video is going to be about. We're going to be exploring Charleston. And we'll probably talk with some really cool people along the way. Let's go ahead and go.
So I'm starting to think that a lot of what's happening right now with this project and its mission to bring out the conversation around climate change, to try and understand it from different perspectives, is part of a growing movement. I was just listening to a podcast called Climate One. They had a really interesting conversation on how there was a big push basically ending in 2016. Basically for the 5 to 10 years before that, there was a scientific consensus that if we just gave people facts, they'd understand climate change and then they would act on it. You talk about what happens in communities and everyone will always talk about some kind of change that's happening, particularly if it's being affected by climate change. But as soon as you start to call it climate change, that's where the issue is. We need to have our local news agencies start to have more climate conversations. It's as simple as that. I don't want to make it sound simple because it's not, but that is a major thing that we can do, is just not having specific science organizations posting about climate change and climate impacts, but having just your local news have a daily climate report, or just have a running series on different things happening in the community, which also is a great way to, 1, create more content, 2, bring in new voices, and 3, educate an audience. Moments like this that I'm very thankful to have a sunshade. Thanks, Dad. I think I owe you a new sunshade at the end of this because you're probably not going to want this back. So, I've made a fatal mistake today. No, I actually haven't. I forgot my watch inside my tent, and my tent's already put away. It literally, I zipped up the bag, went out to do something else, and I was like, something feels weird. And I looked down and forgot to put my watch on this morning. Fear not, there are other modes of telling the time on this boat. But it feels weird. It's not a fatal mistake, though. I mean, it is a mistake, but it's not a fatal mistake. Because I'll describe it later. So, I just had a totally random chance encounter with a local crabber that just pulled his boat up alongside, and I didn't record it because the sound of the engine would have been way too loud. So he's been literally living on this creek since he was a kid, and the guy's in his 60s. Which, first off, that's like a super interesting story. But he came over to me because he remembered of another guy that was coming down from Virginia in a similar boat like years ago. And so he came over and boated over to me because he was getting his morning crabs for his catch. But he was telling me, when I mentioned I was talking to different communities about climate change, he's like, oh yeah, like we're in a major like drought right now, and that's a huge problem for the blue crabs, because the blue crabs like a more brackish water than a full salt water, and so the salinity's higher. And like that's absolutely something about climate change, because we're getting more extreme droughts and we're getting basically more intermittent storms. And so like that's totally something that is important to talk about. And the fact that he immediately jumped to that also gives me a little bit of hope, because it also shows more and more that people here, they're seeing the effects, and people are willing to talk about it because it's their livelihoods. And so I hope that sharing more of these stories can also to change a lot of people's minds that it's not as political as we think it is. Like, there's just a few select people that have tried to make it political, and it doesn't have to be, because we all can work on this together and make it better for all of us, for the world we live in and the jobs that we have. I mean, I'm passing more crabbers along the way here that the waterways here is their livelihood, and it's always been their livelihood, so they want to protect these waters just as much as anyone else, if not more. Excellent.
Safe travels.
Thank you, thank you. You guys have been awesome. Look forward to seeing you guys again soon one day.
Yeah. There you go.
And we are off to the races.
Fair winds.
Thank you, guys. And we're off on another adventure. All right, on to Charleston. We are going through some serious current right now. We are going through Wapu Cut, which is basically going from Johns Island out to Charleston. And this current is freaking like ripping. Look at this. Like, I'm just pedaling right now, like, and I'm not even pedaling that hard. And we're going 5.7 knots. 5.7. It is freaking crazy how fast this current is. I am so glad I'm going with the current. Like, I would not be able to pedal against this current. At all. At all. Holy crap. Ow. Oh my gosh, this current's so fast. We're almost done. Wow, this is crazy. I'm getting like really excited and like, I don't want to say emotional, but like kind of emotional, because what you saw there was Charleston, and like that is a real anchor point for me because I went to college there. I went to the College of Charleston and graduated with a degree in biology, and so like so much of this project, of my love for the environment and my understanding of nature and the complexity of climate change and how to ask questions and how to do research and how to communicate started, I want to say it started here, but it didn't. Like, it goes way farther back. Like, my love for nature has been something that I've had for almost my entire life, but this is really where I started to understand beyond just I love nature, but like, what does that mean? What can I do with that? And that's here. And so this is a really important part of this trip for me, to kind of now come back and be like, hey, I'm doing something. And I did not think that I was going to be doing, you know, a huge kayaking trip. Like, if you told me that I was gonna do that, I might be like, yeah, that's a little crazy, but like, it was not exactly top of my mind. Climate change is a huge issue for this town, and the entire low country. And so it's important to also tell the story of Charleston, because it is one of the best case studies of what's going to happen to so many coastal communities. Obviously, there's not enough time to get every story. I could do an entire, you know, documentary about every town, but that's not the point of this. Nice sailing conditions right now too. I'm like not rushing because I'm trying to hit the point of Charleston Battery Park at low tide so that I can ride it back up on an incoming tide. Because right now the tide's going out and we still have like an hour until low tide. So like, I'm milking it for every moment that I can. But I want to show you one of my favorite cities because it's a cool place, and it's on the front line of climate change, even though it's one of the wealthiest cities in the country and one of the top tourist destinations in the world. And so if they want that to maintain that way, there's a lot that they have to do.
Okay, that works. Get you tied in. We've got a cleat up on the corner there, and then we'll put a stern line in on one of the eye bolts right here.
Sweet.
How's your trip going?
Been going pretty well so far.
Yeah?
Can't really complain. I mean, I've had, you know, a few things break here and there, but it wouldn't be an adventure without it.
Oh, for sure.
And we've officially made it to Charleston, South Carolina. This stop marks 642 miles along my journey from Miami, Florida to Norfolk, Virginia along the Intercoastal Waterway. I'm going to leave things here for this video, and the next video will be all of my adventures in and around Charleston. Thank you all so much for watching. If you liked this video, go ahead and give it that thumbs up, and subscribe if you haven't already. Until next time, my name is Will, this is Climate Kayak Conversation, I'll see you out on the water.